Ah, the keychain you carry around, my lucky friend. Would it be all right if I shared this friend's abilities with you two? It'll be our little secret.
Both of them gave tired, skeptical smiles, but nodded.
Well, thanks, I guess.
Here's hoping it actually brings some luck.
That should keep any rumors from surfacing later.
Now, let's get ready.
I looked at the old grandfather clock hanging in the entrance like everyone else. The second hand, past 8:59:56 a.m.
You're now entering the studio. If you see cameras, don't worry. Think of them as starlight. Stay relaxed.
A certainty about my identity.
Oh, I see you're wearing your mask. Excellent. That mask is now who you are.
My horns felt itchy. Like wood, but not quite wood. Only I knew it was something else entirely. That it was something.
And there are other animal friends. 2 of them.
I turned my head and saw a badger and a falcon observing the surrounding humans.
It seems no one here is stronger than you.
I blinked, perceiving the heat signatures of the humans around me, flushed with tension. I took in a sharp breath. The dilapidated kindergarten building transformed into a pristine, modern space. It smelled of fresh construction, like a newly completed facility awaiting its first use, and I was in a room filled with neatly arranged toys, standing alongside the falcon, or rather, assistant manager Yoon Ha-jae. We had entered the ghost story. I slowly looked down at my neck. I exhaled, letting the tension drain from my body. The strange thickness I'd felt across my entire body, the tactile sensation of horns. All of it gradually faded away. The certainty in my identity dissipated too.
And that concludes everyone's brief role.
So that's what the mask was. It was a bizarre experience, and I was glad it had been short-lived. Since I'd stretched Braun's limits by having him mask 3 people at once, his voice sounded drained. The fact that it held up even for a few seconds was impressive. I reached into my pocket to gently pat Braun.
No, hold on! What in the world is this?
Why did he sound alarmed? I immediately pulled Braun out of my pocket. Hanging around the neck of the plush doll was something that hadn't been there before. A black noose hologram. It was the mark of a sacrifice. Did Braun just get selected as the sacrifice? A ghost story resident himself. I teetered on the brink of confusion, unsure whether this was an impossible fluke or something I should be alarmed about. Then Braun started talking.
Pardon? Participate in a teaching demonstration, you say. What are you talking about? I'm not the one teaching children! Good gracious! Show business, for heaven's sake! You people are so boring! Stuck in a rut, inflexible, and utterly lacking the charm the public craves. I'm opting out, thank you very much.
With that, Braun snapped his plush, cotton-filled fingers, and then, miraculously, the noose around the stuffed doll's neck disappeared.
Trying to enforce rules to involve an uninvolved participant! What an unprofessional kindergarten this is!
So the tactic of being recognized as non-human worked after all. It wasn't quite how I envisioned it, but the outcome was clear enough. Braun had been selected, but his participation in the ghost story was redirected to another participant because he refused to comply. I quickly looked down at my neck. Who did it pass to then? While it was a relief that it wasn't me, the idea of the ghost story transferring the noose to another target randomly because its first pick was declined. Was this how it worked? I turned to assistant manager Yoon Ha-jae, still processing what had just happened.
Assistant manager, just now, I think.
When I looked at her,
Don't panic. Take a deep breath, slowly. Now I'm going to ask you for a favor. If you think you can't do it, feel free to decline. I'd handle it myself if I could, but that's not an option.
with a bitter smile, she lightly patted the noose now firmly secured around her own neck.
Because I'm already locked in.
Dark Exploration Records Ghost Story. A ghost story featured in Dark Exploration Records. Daydream Inc. Identification Code QTRWB191. Based on the word guessing game, this darkness permits no exceptions to its rules. Participants are unable to escape their assigned roles under any circumstances. The psychological tension and fear that arise within are a hallmark of this ghost story. The sacrificial hangman climbs the gallows as the other participants guess words related to them, ultimately resulting in their execution by hanging. There are no exceptions.
Should I say I'm glad I at least get some time to leave a will? Guess that's a small mercy.
No, this can't happen.
Wait, please just.
Assistant Manager Yoon's smile shifted into a wry grin.
Look, I'm going to die anyway. The real question is whether you all survive while I die, or everyone dies together.
If the word puzzle isn't solved before the end of the game, all participants are executed, including the hangman.
All right, listen carefully. I have some automatic purchases queued in the points mall for when I die on the job. Just make sure Squad Leader Lee reviews them properly. The guy's surprisingly scatterbrained at times.
She had already fully accepted her fate.
Stay sharp. It's starting now.
In the corner of the playroom, an old-fashioned TV screen flickered to life.
Hello, English kindergarten teachers of something. Today, we'll be learning a fun game to play with your students.
The noose around Assistant Manager Yoon's neck suddenly jerked taut. The now solid rope coiled tightly around her limbs, lifting her into the air.
Today's host will be our newest teacher, Yoon Ha-jae. Hangman, let's guess the word together.
On the TV screen, enormous blank spaces appeared. The execution had begun.
Everyone, what kind of game is Hangman? That's right. It's an educational game where you guess the spelling of a word. If the letter you shout is part of the word, correct. If not, wrong. And to make it easier for learning, we'll be giving you some hints.
A figure dangling in midair. The pastel tones of the TV and its cheerful voice sharply contrast with the scene, cutting into my ears.
Shall we get started?
The dangling figure, Assistant Manager Yoon Ha-jae, breaks into a wry smile, cold sweat dripping down.
Everyone already knows the answer. But the intro is unnecessarily long, don't you think?
This B-class ghost story thrived on mental strain, nerve-wracking psychological pressure, and the excruciating pain that would drag a victim to the brink of death. It's true that a victim chosen for hangman was effectively sentenced to death. But during the actual game, they could temporarily hold on to their life. And this particular victim is...
Today's word is one that best represents Teacher Yoon Ha-jae. Let's all figure out what kind of person Teacher Yoon Ha-jae is.
According to the something, every attempt to conceal the victim's identity would fail during this process. It's as if their life was being meticulously scrutinized and judged, with every significant event glaringly announced. Even the classic hangman game itself has been altered to serve this purpose.
Everyone, the word has 8 letters.
I looked up at the blank spaces displayed on the TV screen. If you correctly fill in all the blanks, it forms a single word. Normally, participants take turns guessing random letters, and the blanks are filled in as the guesses align with the word. That's how the word is deduced. Here, every letter is directly tied to the victim.
Here's a hint for the 8th letter. What was Teacher Yoon Ha-jae's job 4 years ago?
Guessing something related to the victim's personal history makes it easier. To make this process smoother, the victim's cooperation is necessary. You must persuade or threaten someone sentenced to death into talking. Cold sweat dripped down my chin. What am I even doing? A plush doll in my hands, an outdated TV, Assistant Manager Yoon Ha-jae dangling in midair. I started moving my feet.
Ro, where are you going?
No time. I'll explain later.
Are you looking for the gallows?
Even if you destroy it, it won't change anything. You know that, right? You read the manual. You never know until you try.
Just like in the quiz show, I'm calling Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun to the scene. So, if I ask him to destroy the gallows this time too, yeah, until it's restored, we'll have some time.
Sit down for a moment. Actually, I've got something I want to try at the very end. I'm not saying this lightly. So don't do anything conspicuous either. We can't afford to stack up unnecessary penalties. You know what I'm talking about, right?
This ghost story was based on the oppressive fear that stemmed from being utterly trapped. The movements and actions of the 12 new teachers would be monitored in real time by the kindergarten through CCTV, and any behavior deemed unfit for a teacher results in a penalty.
1 minute left. Teachers, raise your hands and shout out a letter.
Assistant Manager Un. Assistant Manager Un.
At that moment, the playroom door slammed open, and a staff member rushed in, looking desperate and anxious. His expression screamed frustration and despair, as if searching frantically for the victim, but unable to run due to the rules. In this kindergarten, running above an alarmed pace was strictly prohibited. Swearing, damage, and anything against the game rules. Everything is banned.
Who? Why does it have to be the room at the end of the 3rd floor?
The staff member shouted at Assistant Manager Yoon Hajae, venting his frustration. Still, he seemed to restrain himself from cursing, trying to follow the rules.
Hey, you, Assistant Manager Yoon, what were you doing 4 years ago?
You fucking turd. How dare you talk down to me?
In this game, the hangman was an exception to all rules.
What? Why, all of a sudden?
It didn't matter anymore when they're going to die anyway.
I've held back from pointing out your behavior so far, just to avoid getting involved with you, you hopeless fucking moron. And now, I'm about to die without even gathering enough points. What a mess!
Get a grip, you goddamn troll. You've already killed 3 newbies.
Feeling wronged, frustrated, then suck it up. You wouldn't want to be judged as 0 contribution later and get punished, would you? There are only 8 slots. Behave yourself, yeah?
The staff member clamped his mouth shut. It was the only logical decision. In this ghost story, the idea that only one person dies was the best-case scenario based on the manual. In reality, deviations often lead to complete annihilation. This was a tale where your survival depended on strictly adhering to the rules. And if you fail to guess even a single letter in this hangman game, you'll face a penalty during the final evaluation. That's when it happened.
Hey, Ro. Come here.
Assistant Manager Yoon Hajae called out to me. When I approached, she lowered her voice so only I could hear.
I was a reporter 4 years ago. Ro, you make the guess. Avoid the 0 contribution penalty from the start.
This is driving me crazy.
Even if you refuse to guess, nothing will change. You know that, right?
It'd help my mental state, Mom.
Then start by worrying about the mental state of someone who's about to die. Will you? Imagine how awful it would be if that guy beats you to the answer, huh?
I pressed my temples and eventually stepped toward the TV. The staff member who had barged in looked at me in disbelief.
The last letter of the word is R. It's the initial of reporter.
The screen made a cheerful sound as it filled in the letter.
Let's give a round of applause for the hangman.
Yoon Hajae's body twisted. The left foot of the assistant manager, suspended in midair, literally vanished. One step closer to execution. The sacrificial hangman climbs the gallows as the other participants guess words related to them, ultimately resulting in their execution by hanging. There are no exceptions.
It's not like it got hacked off, so there's no pain. Don't worry.
Well, at least it didn't start with the neck. We can still talk, right?
No matter how I think about it, dissuading me from the last-ditch attempt was just a bluff to keep me stuck here. I can't let time run out. Meanwhile, the TV continued.
Here's a hint for the 5th letter. What was the last mode of transportation Ms. Yoon Hajae used during her time as a reporter?
Ugh, just tell me. Hey, even so,
Yoon Hajae stared at them incredulously.
You're responsible for 3 dead newbies. Damn it, you should've been the one stuck here to die. Shut up. You're dead meat now anyway.
Oh, then don't listen to this dead meat.
Yoon Hajae lazily tilted her head with a bored expression. The staff member, his face flushed red with anger, shoved me aside and stepped up to the TV.
Transportation? Well, probability-wise, it's obvious. Bus or subway? Yeah, okay, subway initial, S.
Oh dear. Ding, wrong. As punishment, please recite the educational booklet for 10 minutes.
A holographic black booklet appeared in front of the staff member and stuck to his face. The black booklet melted as if it were merging with his skin, swallowing his face whole. He rolled on the floor, struggling desperately to tear it off, but nothing changed. Beneath the dissolving booklet, a clear brand appeared on his forehead. Huh. Yoon Hajae clicked her tongue.
What a mark to get. Idiot. Pay attention, Ro. If that accumulates, you'll be stuck here being educated until you're a proper kindergarten teacher, forever.
If you fail to participate in this game properly, you'll end up in a fate worse than death.
3 times. Just 3 penalties, and it's over.
It's enough to contaminate someone to the point where they're no longer considered human. Like the security team. But this is even worse. Unlike the security team, if you're not rescued, you'll just disappear, trapped in this ghost story indefinitely.
So don't do anything unnecessary. If you screw up, you won't even be able to die.
Cold sweat dripped down my back. In this situation, as long as I follow the manual, I'll survive. I've even guessed 1 letter correctly, removing the penalty. So is there any reason to take a risk? If I try, the situation might just get worse. There are plenty of records in this ghost story of people who tried to save the hangman, only to end up contaminated and stuck here forever, endlessly educated as kindergarten teachers. There are no exceptions. Yeah, there's no way out, no matter what. The game must be completed, and the hangman must die. This isn't some fun ghost story about bending the rules to escape. Its very nature is different. From the moment it was registered on the wiki, this was a theme that drove people insane because the rules couldn't be broken. This ghost story amplifies the fear of helplessness and suffocating adherence to rules, ultimately forcing you to desperately self-censor in accordance with those rules. Still, there was one faint variable I had witnessed: Braun, who had escaped the game by talking to this ghost story. But I lost that chance because I stood there dumbfounded, just watching him talk. I should have intervened. I should have done something, dragged out time, avoided the noose, and kept the conversation going. Braun had looked on in disbelief, horrified.
Well, I'd rather not! Talking more with these people? How boring, Mr. Roe Deer! Are you seriously saying I should have humored this outdated game and pretended to go along with the hanging? For me, your friend?
Braun, even I can't argue with you there. When you declared your refusal to participate in this game, you knew someone else would be chosen as the hangman, didn't you? You knew there was a 1 in 12 chance I could die, and you didn't hesitate. So you didn't care if I ended up being hanged?
No! No, that's not it. It's not like that. But this outdated game, even as a game, should be respected for its rules. Ah, of course! I mean, my friend is more important!
For the first time, Braun's voice wavered, filled with confusion. It seemed as though the role of being a good friend and the role of the narrator within the ghost story were clashing inside him. Let's not forget this guy has the twisted mindset typical of a ghost story resident. But at the same time, he was a stuffed doll trying very hard to remain my friend. I had to center myself. I might be a coward, but I shouldn't let myself be stupid. I explained as calmly as possible. I didn't mean to say that I thought you should have been hanged either. It's just, I'm going crazy with anxiety. I just meant that I wish I had asked you to stick around a bit longer to gather more information before bailing. You seem to be able to communicate with this ghost story.
Ah! That's true. Unfortunately for you, Mr. Roe Deer, it seems they've decided to treat me as an outsider now, so no special interviews are being granted.
Still, if that's your reasoning, I can certainly understand.
But faintly, I had a feeling we understood each other differently. Even as I thought that, I didn't have the mental bandwidth to dwell on it further. Even though I knew there was nothing, part of my brain kept desperately sifting through the exploration records in the manual, trying to find a loophole to save the hangman. But there was nothing. Of course there wasn't. If there had been, I would have thought of it over the past 2 days while racking my brain to the breaking point. There's no precedent. No matter how much I scoured my mental catalog of or revisited the manual, it wasn't there. Whether I destroyed the gallows, tried to replace the hangman, or simply refused to guess the word, it would only add penalties. The hangman still dies. There are no exceptions. They'll die no matter what. No matter what. Is there really nothing else? A familiar voice rang out. I turned to see a second staff member standing in the open doorway. Supervisor Park Min-seong, who had just entered the room, caught sight of Yoon Ha-jae and visibly swallowed hard.
You've already heard it on the TV, right? Just get ready to guess.
Park Min-seong's face was filled with a mix of emotions before quickly calming down.
Stop thinking unnecessary thoughts and guess quickly. You know you've already accumulated penalties, right?
Supervisor, what does that mean?
The supervisor whispered to me with a strained expression.
Well, actually, this is my second time being here. I came here right after I started, and now, 2 years later, I'm back again. Haha, I don't know if I'm lucky or unlucky.
He gave a bitter smile.
Last time, I tried to save someone who'd been chosen as the hangman and got a penalty for it, so I think the contamination might have accumulated. I'm not sure. There hasn't been a case before.
He rambled, saying he even started carrying only one piece of equipment at a time because he wasn't sure what might happen. His mental state was clearly shaken. I grabbed his shoulders. A direct experiencer. The only person who might have detailed information I didn't.
Please answer my questions quickly and accurately from now on. Then, Supervisor, Your previous experience would be the 35th round, correct?
Yeah! It was the only round where they attempted to bring in new hires.
Kim Soleum quickly exchanged a few hurried questions with Supervisor Park Min-seong and immediately pieced together the essentials in his mind. Supervisor Park's detailed experience.
Is this all? Is this what we need?
I'm working on putting it together.
New hires were drafted into this darkness's exploration, resulting in chaos and panic from fear. Some kept cursing, so they received penalties. A fight broke out over calming pills, and it led to penalties for both parties, including the one who drank them. The new hire chosen as the hangman passed out from panic halfway through, but the sheer terror and confusion left no one able to help. Another new hire collapsed after being struck on the head by the body that fell from the gallows. They later resigned.
After that, they never brought in new hires again.
Do the bodies remain?
Kim Soleum stared urgently at the supervisor.
The bodies of the people who've died here as the hangman, I mean.
Well, yeah. Though I don't know about decay or anything like that, I don't think there was a head, but it's not like I personally attended the funeral and checked every detail.
A chill ran up Kim Soleum's spine. Supervisor Park grabbed Kim Soleum's shoulders in a panic.
Is there a hint? Does this help?
Kim Soleum nodded urgently, but cold sweat trickled down his neck. I can't guarantee it, though. It felt like madness. The mere possibility was such an exhilarating hope. This is worth trying. Kim Soleum hastily pieced together what was needed. It seemed barely feasible. With this, we might be able to slip through the cracks without breaking the rules. The only problem was, one essential skill wasn't currently available. Once again, he was needed. How much longer until your transformation ability is ready?
Even I need about half a day of rest, don't you think?
Kim Soleum quickly adjusted the question. What if I change the conditions? Kim Soleum explained the altered conditions. The response changed.
If that's the case, I can manage after about an hour of rest. It's a tough schedule, but I'll endure it. I'm a professional, after all.
The conditions were reset. I need to buy time. Within this chaos, I had to ensure that Yoon Ha-jae didn't fully ascend the gallows for an hour, and that was impossible to do alone.
If possible, I'd like you to act as a decoy.
Kim Soleum quickly held the silver heart badge in his pocket. Then he shouted to the 9 employees who had gathered in the room, enthusiastically immersed in the hangman game. 9 pairs of eyes turned toward Kim Soleum. What was needed now was,
If you could double your clear points, would you do it?
Assistant Manager Yoon Ha-jae of D Squad raised her head. Even though she was hanging midair, sentenced to death with black ropes wrapped around her neck and limbs, she was surprisingly calm. She thought that all things considered, this wasn't a bad way to go. Aside from dying just short of reaching her point goal, it was honestly far better than the bloody messes from her coworkers' deaths in the past.
Assistant Manager Yoon, what was your mode of transportation?
Dunno. I told you already, I don't remember.
If taking these goddamn trolls with her to the grave wasn't enough to make it worse, she didn't feel all that cooperative. Still, the right answers would eventually come, regardless of her efforts. That's just how hangman works.
Damn it. The last mode of transportation she used as a reporter? How the hell would I know that? Fuck it, eh? It worked.
Even without figuring it out from the hint, throwing out letters eventually leads to the correct answer. Yoon Ha-jae looked at her now missing feet, feeling the chilling fear of death crawl up her neck. But no, she didn't show it. She didn't want to serve as entertainment for the trolls.
Here's the hint for the third blank letter. Why can't teacher Yoon Ha-jae take airplanes anymore?
Meanwhile, her 2 hubeis from D Squad were busily whispering in the corner. Kim Soleum wondered what they were doing. They clenched their teeth as if seeing Yoon Ha-jae lose both. Her feat was too much, then started talking more fervently. They must have some delusional idea of saving her. He thought that might be better. If they just keep talking and eventually realize there's no way out, they'll give up. At least they'll find some comfort in having tried. Meanwhile, someone came up with the answer to the relatively easy question. Her entire left leg disappeared.
Ah, I should have answered first.
The trolls screamed like they were at a sports event, watching someone's leg disappear. Yoon Ha-jae's irritation and anger began to boil. She thought maybe she should just troll along with them. Someone raised their hand beyond the trolls.
If you could double your clear points, would you do it?
The rookie from D Squad, or rather, the now former rookie, who'd climbed the ranks in record time, Kim Soleum, raised his hand with a calm expression.
Isn't that the guy? That one who got promoted recently?
Everyone recognized him by then. The top new hire, wearing a mask with antlers like a deer, who had been promoted to supervisor after just 60 days, had already become a widely talked about figure. Maybe because of the rumors, everyone was now strangely drawn to him. There was something natural about his presence.
Did he say points?
In the strange atmosphere that had overtaken the playroom, Kim Soleum spoke.
How about we make a bet? If any of you win this bet, I'll give you all my clear points, Sunbae Nim.
Is that guy crazy? Why is he doing that?
But for members of the field exploration team, the mention of points was irresistible.
Are you really saying you'll give up all 2,000 points? Ah, Supervisor Rodeer, you must not know since you've only been here a few months. Points are non-transferable.
But there's no rule against using 2,000 points to buy items from the company store and giving them away, is there? If you win, you can pick whatever you like. I'll even pay for custom equipment.
The atmosphere shifted. If the sacrifice had already been chosen, then how useful would additional points be? Of course, if they could win.
Then what's the bet?
In response, Kim Soleum crossed his arms.
Who can guess the most letters in the hangman puzzle? The person who guesses more letters than me will get the points. For reference, I've only guessed one, so just getting 2 would meet the threshold.
Supervisor Park Min-seong from D Squad stood up in alarm.
There aren't many B-class ghost stories that are safe as long as you follow the manual. I thought this could be a good opportunity to see if guessing more correct answers might trigger any special phenomena, right?
Kim Soleum spoke seriously, looking around at the employees.
If the atmosphere gets strange, please stop. I hope it doesn't become dangerous.
Some of the employees exchanged smirks and sneers before one of them spoke up with a sarcastic grin.
Oh, so noble. You're making a bet to add more detail to the manual and make it safer?
Yes, that's correct.
Kim Soleum replied without hesitation.
I want to help make it so that those who come in after us can clear this more safely. No particular reason. I just think it'd be good if someone did it, and I'm in a position to do so.
The employee who asked fell silent. For some reason, they felt uneasy.
Come to think of it, didn't this rookie rescue a missing person?
Another memory surfaced.
Last time, I heard he saved all the other employees from some B-class darkness and got promoted because of it.
He'd retrieved an unpopular desk worker that no one else cared to find, without pay. He'd risked his life in a high-grade darkness to save employees he didn't even know. Normally, these people would have laughed at someone guy, calling him gullible, but strangely, for some peculiar reason, they couldn't. It was as if their thoughts were sharpening, seeing things in a clearer, more objective way, detached from their usual habits and inertia. Those seemingly foolish choices began to look, somehow, impressive. They spoke without thinking.
All right, let's do the bet.
Kim Soleum bowed repeatedly, thanking the now quiet employees, and then began to walk away.
I'll see you all when the game is finished.
He approached Assistant Manager Hoon Haje, who had been watching the whole scene with her jaw dropped. Hoon Haje felt a throbbing headache.
This guy's problem is that he's too nice.
Smart rookie or not, this was his flaw. The type to burn out or break under the weight of his own ideals. He'd passionately declared that his items belonged to his coworkers just to try and save them before, and now he was seriously pulling a stunt.
You're seriously.
Kim Soleum lowered his voice and spoke quickly.
I just stirred things up to buy us time.
For a moment, Hoon Haje almost forgot she was about to die, but then she managed to reply.
You're saying you're stalling for time?
Wait, if you're planning to try something in that time, don't. That's how you get yourself killed.
What if I insist on doing it?
We're going to try no matter what. If you cooperate, our chances of success will be higher.
This stubborn brat, Hoon Haje gritted her teeth.
Hey, I told you I'll handle it myself.
I don't believe that. You've already given up. You're ready to die.
So quick on the uptake.
I won't say I haven't thought about trying something.
Finally, Yoon Haje confessed, things she hadn't mentioned to avoid giving her Hube's false hope.
You know how this ghost story enforces all sorts of rules on the so-called new teachers, right? But do you know who the only exception is?
The hangman wasn't penalized for anything. Not for cursing, not for slamming their head against a wall hard enough to break the skull.
The problem is, even so, moving my body is difficult.
She gestured with her eyes toward the ropes binding her.
But if I put it the other way around, it means I can do whatever I want with my upper body.
Of course, the chances of anything working were slim to none. Yunhaje spoke casually, keeping her composure.
Did you hear that? Only I can keep trying this loophole. Even so, I don't get penalized. So you penalty targets just sit and...
Kim Soleum's eyes glinted.
I'll use that loophole to maximize the survival rate. Please remember what I'm about to say.
Kim Soleum explained, clearly, firmly, and concisely, what Yunhaje needed to do. Yunhaje suddenly felt like she'd been doused in ice water.
Were they seriously going to do this?
We'll head off and start the work. See you in a bit.
Row, Badger, you damn brats. Hey, come back here.
I was walking down the unnervingly clean, colorful, and quiet kindergarten hallway with Supervisor Park Minseong. The testimonies from Supervisor Park and Assistant Manager Yoon were helping me form a clearer picture. My mind wavered between anxiety and hope. Even so, the unsettling atmosphere of this ghost story's setting still made my skin crawl. But courageous as always, Supervisor Park kept glancing back at me with a worried expression before finally speaking up.
Ro, are you sure about this? Those 2,000 points aren't a joke. What if someone actually guesses 2 letters?
That'll never happen.
With selfish personalities and everyone keeping each other in check, it's impossible.
According to the records, each question's time limit ranged from 7 to 10 minutes, depending on the whims of the ghost story. Even conservatively, they'd have to cycle through 9 rounds of this full-time limit. So, what's the best method?
They'll sabotage each other every time someone tries to guess.
I thought about how they would likely keep sabotaging and fighting until the very last moment. Since they still wouldn't want to accumulate penalties, someone would begrudgingly propose terms for their guesses. And the likelihood of that being the correct answer? Very slim.
In the end, they'll all have to take penalties, and the time will drag on.
Additionally, once contamination starts accumulating, they'll hesitate to randomly guess letters, slowing things down further.
It'll easily take an hour.
I stated this confidently.
And since the prize isn't the 2,000 points themselves, but an item you can buy with them, it's harder to split the reward. They can't easily form teams to share, and verbal agreements aren't trustworthy enough.
The only reason they trusted my promise was because of the silver heart. I had to make sure it wasn't exposed. I consciously avoided even thinking about the badge in my pocket as I continued.
So don't worry about that. Let's focus on saving the assistant manager first.
A flicker of emotion crossed Supervisor Park's face beneath his mask. Realizing there was no time to waste, he quickly suppressed it.
All right, let's get to it. Oh, we're here.
It was time to begin preparations. I sat down with Supervisor Park, settling on the floor. It was the largest space in the kindergarten. I tried my best not to look too closely at the scene before me. In front of us was a colorful ball pit and a stage decorated with flowers and butterflies. But atop the cheerful stage, 2 grotesque chunks of flesh stood awkwardly, a left leg, a right foot. They were parts of Assistant Manager Yoon Haje's body. A chill ran up my spine, raising the hairs on my neck. Whether it was from fear, dread, or a sense of crisis, I couldn't tell. There was only one chance. I had to seize it here.